Hello everybody, how's it going? So, I am Ghostkumo, and this is Ys, members of Celecta. It is actually pronounced Ys. Not Wise, not Yis, not any of the billion other things people come up with to pronounce it, but yeah, it's whatever. So, I suppose I should get into things. The incentive for hard difficulty was met, so we should be running that. The estimate says an hour 14. Should hopefully not take longer than an hour, or not too much longer. In any case, East Calcium, or East Calcutta, as my old friend Puri Puri called it. It is a little bit late, so I apologize if my volume is a little bit lower. So I'll go ahead and give a countdown to start. Let me know when you're all ready.
Oh, I was born ready.
Okay. Alrighty. I'll go 3, 2, 1, go. So the first thing you'll notice really quickly is that this game actually has really fast cutscenes. When this game was ported over to the PC, from the Vita actually, the developers of the port included a 5 times cutscene turbo feature, which accelerates cutscenes at 5 times normal speed. So this is an action RPG. It's the 4th game, more like a remake of the 4th game, which was like a SNES game, attuned more towards the Ys gameplay style of Ys 7, which was on the PlayStation Portable. As this was also a Vita game, and they were kind of experimenting with a different gameplay style from the classic Ys games, which the early ones were top-down games. If you ever played the game Hydlide for the NES, it's basically a good version of that. It was the original 2 Ys games. And then after that started being these top-down hack-and-slash RPGs. This one actually has a party system, so I can control up to 3 characters. 2 of them will be AI controlled, and I can freely swap between them. So we're playing as the red-haired swordsman by the name of Adol Tristan. Our objective in this game is to kind of get back our memories. Now, combat in this game is very similar to... I like to do it like a Tales of meets like a Mana game. Anyone familiar with those series? Really switch here, and then I need to hit these 2 enemies to move on. Do a little 1 extra encounter here because I need to hit myself to level 2, and once I finish this and the next enemy wave, I'll hit level 2. You're gonna have to get a little used to repeated voice clips that just kind of play randomly in cutscenes. There's a few of those in the story, and because I'm fast forwarding through them, they kind of all just play at once.
Oh boy, leave it to me.
So, while Adol is our main character and going to be probably the most important one for the speed run, he's not quite the fastest dodge roller. As you can see, I'm doing a lot of dodge rolling. Different characters have their own different speeds.
Leave it to me.
And right there, I just used the cutscene viewer to kind of mess with my character's positions so that one of them respawns behind the gate. It saves about 6 seconds and a tutorial, but it's not really necessary.
My turn.
Grabbing that item because it's useful for a glitch later on. So here's the first boss of the run, and this is to be introduced kind of the main mechanics of combat in this game. As I have shown, I have attacks, I have skills that I combine with 4 face buttons. And this game you have a guard and a dodge roll button. This is terrible. If you get a perfectly timed guard, where you guard just before the attack connects, Oh, okay, I need to die because I apparently cannot guard today. Yeah, I split my, Oh, wow, I'm dropping frames. So as I was saying, I want to get these perfectly timed guards in order to actually get some of these mini crits. And then, after enough of that, this guy gets stunned and I can hit him with my finisher for massive damage. Hopefully I can get him before he gets up. Alright, just barely. Yeah, sorry about the technical difficulties. I'm gonna have to deal with them for tonight. Alrighty. First boss out of the way. Moving on. At the end of here I get this item called a Silver Wing, and that lets me teleport between any of these light-colored statues that I've visited. Alright, so the village, or the town's Governor General decides to thank us for saving the miners, and then proceeds to ask us to kind of chart this relatively uncharted region known as Celecta, and that's sort of the kind of breaking off point that this game sets its story for. The story of this game is not really especially important, and we're going to be doing a lot of sequence breaking, so it's not even really going to be comprehensible anyways. But for a casual playthrough, it's enough to kind of get you through the game. And it fits fairly well into the series, which there are like 9 games in this series that all kind of chronologically link together in various ways. Just playing one game doesn't really build the world a whole lot. It really is built across all 9 of them. And soon to be a 10th. Which I'm pretty excited for. Anyways, so we need to head to this giant tree that's located kind of in the center of this region. There's a few different things that I can do from here. This section is somewhat open. So I'm just going to attempt it in the way that's fastest for the speed run. Also, side note, I absolutely adore this game's soundtrack, and I wouldn't even consider it in the top 5 of these soundtracks. It's just, the series is that powerful. Got tripped up on movement there. So right here, we're going to view another one of these flashback cutscenes. Every time I go to one of these tents or touch a glowing orb, Adol gets back a memory. And most of these memories are of when he was in the region before he ended up losing all of them. I'm gonna go do one thing real quick here. just needed to check one thing. I was still kind of worried about how I just got completely disconnected there. Gotta just double check something here. Okay. Sorry, when my internet completely crashes and I have to adjust my settings, I get a little paranoid. Anyways, we're coming up on the first major glitch here in this run. It's going to involve a little bit of death abuse and makes exploitation of the way this game kind of treats characters when they're in water. So when a character is despawned while in water, that happens, and I completely screw up the glitch. Yeah, ignore that. Take two. None of this ever happened. It's fine. I got a lot of buffer time on my estimate. So, to really explain what this glitch does, I need to despawn one of my characters, obviously not both of them, because I would kill them, and result in the game over. When I despawn a character while they're in water, they're set to a slightly lower position on the map. So when I switch them to active party lead while they're dead and then revive them, it activates a sort of weird property in this game. Okay, please don't kill me this time. So switch him to party lead, and then I'm going to revive him, and he's going to fall through the floor. Because that's how floors work. Let's speed that up. So now that I'm at the kind of seam of this riverbed, I need to kind of gently wiggle myself while being out of bounds to get across this river here. And then making use of that little memory cutscene trick to put my character back in bounds. Now what I just did there saves probably 2 minutes. But most time save in this run actually compounds very well, meaning that I will be using the time that I saved from that to save more time later. So I save a bunch of time, partly because a bunch of cutscenes that are supposed to happen here don't, because I skipped ahead, and this game's cutscenes are pretty rigidly structured. So if you ever break the sequence on that, you end up saving a lot of time. So this whole section right here is just a flashback to when Adol came here many nights before and kind of became friends with everyone in the village because he is a man of what is known as wanderlust. He looks for basically adventures that he can go on and places to go, people to see, yada yada yada. In any case, all the villages here, or half the villages here go missing, so we need to figure out where they went. And it turns out they're actually being possessed by these dark masks that kind of enhance their strength considerably, but causes them to basically go mad. So we need to figure out where they're coming from. And that ends up happening to be this giant burr that's sort of at the center of this crater where this whole place kind of is. Now, before I can do that, I need to sell a bunch of crap, and by that I mean literally just these 10 yellow stones that I got. And then buy healing potions, because unfortunately in the route, equipment is less cost-effective than just buying healing. And you can heal at any point in this game, which is huge. next thing I'm going to do, get one more of these, because I need to do that glitch one more time. Just need to do it a few more times. The key thing isn't killing a character, it's just an AV spawn. And I'll have a much more efficient way of doing that soon enough. In any case, we finished off our first trio of characters. This orange-haired girl by the name of Karna joined our party, and her whole deal is that she has throwing knives, which are really useful as a weapon type because they're ranged. And I think she's the only completely ranged character in this game. I say think because I haven't played this game enough. And I'm kidding by that, actually. Anyways. Her main perk in joining my party, she actually joins in at level 11. Apart from the fact that she's also required for story progress. That's an unfortunate hit there. That guy just has this really erratic behavior. She's in the party. I'm gonna switch her second skill to X because that just makes it much easier. Now this is a boss fight of 4 enemies. I'll walk right up to them, immediately use my finisher skill, and then I'm going to try and keep all 4 of them in it as long as I can. This is where healing really comes in handy because I want to kind of keep them all together. So that right there is a perfect dodge. There's a few frames before every enemy attack connects that I can get a perfect dodge, which gives me a little bit of bullet time, essentially. So experience in this game is nice in that it scales pretty well. Every time I get a kill here, you see my other characters all level up because they're really, really low level right now. Oh god. This is fine. She's not supposed to die like that, but she's not exactly the most useful party member right now, anyways. So, oh. That fight's never happened that badly. Okay. Oops. The other thing I need Karna for is that she can sever suspended cables. If I did not have that ability, I would be completely soft-locked.
My turn.
Alright. I cannot play today. Dang. So kind of our next mission with this dungeon is we need to get to about the midway point. And we're gonna end up fighting the mid-boss and doing some rather obnoxious tricks with it. Here we need to sever these cables to fill up this pond, and just in that next room is where this first mid-boss is. This next trick that I'm going to be doing is completely PC exclusive. There is no way to do this on the original Vita version, which is what this game used to be on. And this is a big part of why this version only takes about an hour to beat, as opposed to the Vita version, which takes close to 2.5. So this boss here, he's known as the Giant D. He's a total ass. Nobody likes him. Oh, what? So this glitch right here is really, really important. So I need to take a death here because both my characters are paralyzed. I got really bad luck with this fight here. So what I need to do is head over here, and then, as you saw... Oh wow, this is awful. Oh my god. Come on. Have one good run today, please. Okay, so I need to wait till one of my characters is... well, now he's paralyzed, so I can't do anything either. Alright, I need to take another death. Okay, alright. Actually, I can deal with this. Well, this is about all the ways a run can go wrong. Okay. Oh my god, come on. So one of the unique things about the PC version of this game is that you can repeatedly guard an attack over and over. And what this is enabling me to do is stack the vertical momentum that I get from this. The problem is to actually execute this trick, I need to be in a fairly precise position. And I am not getting this at all right now. Come on! Wow, this is so bad. Come on. There we go. And I died. So what you're seeing right now is about the absolute worst that this can go. Okay. Why? Come on, buddy. Do your thing. No, not this thing, the other thing. Okay. What? Why am I not getting enough guards here? I need to get at least 8 or 9. There we go. And I fell. There's a pretty narrow, like, little seam that I can clip onto. Come on, buddy. Come on, stop it. Really? Oh my god. Come on. What is the problem? Never had this much difficulty in practice. Okay. This is obnoxious. Okay. Wait till the camera adjusts from up here. And we didn't do it. I'm sorry about this. This trick is not that complicated. It's just I'm getting the 1% of the 1% right now of just a combination of bad luck and failed execution. It's not working, dude. Come on. It's this first one that's really the hardest one. Everyone after this is way easier. Why is it only 6? Alright, this should do it. There! Freaking finally. Okay. So the worst part about that trick is that I need to do it 3 more times. The best part about that trick is the first time is by far the hardest because I have to kind of mess with my position to get it to work. Now I can just go about the rest of this much easier. And I'm still messing this up. What? I'm here. There we go. Really? Okay. And I was too close. So, come on. Doesn't finish me. Okay. Why did that? Sorry, I'm like, it's really hard to maintain composure right now. One more time.
Leave it to me.
This time, this needs to freaking work because this is taking so damn long. Why is that not enough? This should be working. And now I'm on the back end. There we go. Alright. Yeah, the phrase "not the bees" comes up a whole lot in my stream. That is significantly worse than I have ever done on any of those tricks. So, only uphill from here. Alright, so now that we have finally gotten out of that, I need to perform the death abuse trick one more time. And thankfully, one of the things that I got from that dungeon was the dwarf bracelet, which lets me basically drop my defense to 0 which is really useful when you need to die to exploit a glitch here. So now we're getting out of bounds, and there's this little out of bounds section that I'm not really sure why it's there, but it makes this part a whole lot better. Because ordinarily I have to complete that third dungeon, or second dungeon that I was just in, but thankfully the loading zone that can actually get me out of that scenario is there. The only problem is I can't access it from the front because there's sort of this little story trigger that says, hey, you haven't finished this dungeon, you need to finish this dungeon. And so we just bypass that entirely and we can kind of just skip ahead without ever clearing that dungeon at all. So not only does that save about 6 or 7 minutes, but more importantly, it ends up leaving one of the biggest sequence breaks kind of that this entire run has.
Let's give him a beating.
Not the bees. Yes, it it really does. Sorry, I think my chat plugin just died, so I wasn't responding to chat for a while. Thanks for bearing with me on that one. That was yeah, that was the worst I've ever done on the bee glitch. So this whole area, basically the river's been poisoned, and so Adol gets kind of blamed for it, and so we need to figure out why the river's been poisoned. Yeah, sadly we're not gonna, we don't reach that speed anymore. We only reach, sub-light speed. So since the river's been poisoned, we need to figure out who's responsible, basically, because the village chief likes the cut of our jib. And he thinks it's very unlikely that we actually are responsible.
Leave it to me.
So it turns out that actually the sacred beasts of the village are the ones responsible for poisoning the river. And the village leader doesn't want anyone to know this because they're kind of like the sacred beasts of their culture. So he just asks us to help him figure out what's going on. And of course we're not going to do that because we're speedrunners, and, you know, going through an entire dungeon sounds like a very long and arduous task. And we don't have to do that, thankfully, because the screen that actually has the entrance to the fourth dungeon happens to be around water, and that is the key part of the glitch that I've been doing so far. So now that we're out of water, we swap our characters out and then swap them back in, and we are now in the underwater parts of the screen here. And the loading zone happens to be behind this wall that I can't access until much later. I have to do this sort of little puzzle and everything. Now, I have to actually get myself out of bounds, otherwise I'd basically be soft-locked. Because this whole portion here... that's not what I want to do. This whole portion here, I have no means of diving underwater. And I need to have access to a means to get underwater, otherwise I would not be able to proceed. And the dungeon that has the accessory for that was already completely skipped.
My turn.
The other thing that I needed from that dungeon that I was just in was the dwarf bracelet, which, if I did not have that to get through this dungeon, I would be 100% soft locked. Or at least until I beat the dungeon. And right now I would be soft locked because I have no means of getting through this part. So once again, using the cutscene viewer to set character positions rather than actually watch the cutscene. And what that does is it lets me enter this little cubbyhole while being regular size. When you're tiny, your damage output is actually minimized as much as possible. And there's enemies here with very small amounts of health that can be one-shot with single skills. And this makes this a really good grinding spot. Especially because Karna picks up this skill here called Napalm Shot. Napalm Shot's really, really useful. It's area of effect and high damage. Alright, so now I got all the levels that I really need to out of that. Really? So I need to get access to this chest and not die. I'm gonna have to load a backup save for that. Because I need that treasure chest. Okay, I actually don't have any backup saves that are where I need them to be, but I do thankfully have a backup save right after that. So in that treasure chest is actually this item called the Bronze Edge DX. And that's just a better sword for Adol. Thankfully on this screen is right near the boss. So, yeah. Again, I had to load up a backup save, which sucks, but, you know, what are you gonna do? So, yeah, basically I would have needed Durin alive to unlock that chest, and I never picked up another revival item. I sometimes do for safety, but I think this run has gone bad enough that I forgot to do so. Alright, so this is Robo Centaur. Nobody likes him. And this fight I really would have needed a stronger weapon for. Stop doing the fire fist attack. So here I actually make use of a PC exclusive mechanic called Simulflash, which is where I can simultaneously guard and flash dodge an attack. This is a kind of experimental trick because this was added to this version. And the big problem with it is that attacks have lingering hitboxes in this game, and those can sometimes kill me. What? This is a file that doesn't have the drop foot. Alright, I need to take another death here. Actually, I don't think I do. Why are you attacking bats? Oh my god. Hit detection in this game right now. So now he's entered into his final phase, and this phase just sucks. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna need you to do that attack once more, buddy. I might just have, yeah, I have to take a death here. My means of dealing with this guy are just depleted. Oh, I completely missed. Alright, just heal. Do that attack very often. That's weird. And so it isn't immediately apparent. I need to kill the feet and then deal with the head, and then once he gets down to his kind of final phase, he doesn't make himself very vulnerable. If I tried to do this fight without Karna in the party, it would pretty much be impossible. That attack connects, then I die. And I don't really need to be wasting any more time. So this should force him basically into his final phase. I think we actually have health this time. Wait, what? Really? I'm so mad, dude. This run is not going very well. For perspective, this part should be done in about 28 minutes. So, you win some, you lose some. Alright, now he's finally in his last phase. So what's supposed to happen here is that I'd have Karna alive for this with a hopefully better weapon, which I sadly don't have right now. This is sadly pretty much the only means of dealing damage, even though throwing knives are still their default ones. Oh gosh. Wow. Okay. This is what I was looking for. Alright, so now that he's in this phase, I can move on to... Now that he's about done with this phase, as soon as he does that attack, I can actually hit him for a pretty good chunk of damage. Okay, freaking finally. I'm laughing because it hurts. Alright. Now that we're finally done with that, I need to switch him back out of the party. So where we're headed to next is the second memory cutscene that I viewed was sort of a tower that is basically being struck by lightning, and that just happens to be in the distance here. What? I've never been hit in this section either. My luck really that bad today. So I'm gonna buy one of these because at this point I'd rather finish the run than like have to worry too much about time. Gonna be cutting it fairly close to estimate. It looks like. So, that town that we were just in, because we've sequence broken the ever-loving crap out of this game, all the cutscenes that happen there are just gone, and there's this really long, kind of drawn-out scenario where we find the game's main item, the Mask of the Sun, we have to dig up our own grave, a bunch of random stuff. So we don't have to do any of that, we just skip almost all context for everything that's about to happen. But right now I just picked up the fifth party member of the game who can basically let me get past this lightning rod field here. So, for anyone who's a big fan of Final Fantasy X, this section is kind of reminiscent of that. There's a very minor little skip that I can do here that's actually really important. So I wait for that lightning strike, and then I actually skip past in between. Because it's not actually whether or not you touch a dangerous zone, it's actually if you just get hit by lightning, and that's going to be very abusable coming up here in a moment. So here's Providence Tower. It's the tower where, basically, if I get struck by lightning, like that, well, I'm gonna actually do a, son of a gun, I'm gonna do a little trick here. I'm not even gonna talk, because that makes this really difficult. So, lightning strikes on a 2.1 second timer, and the loading zone for the next area is kind of there. And for whatever silly reason... Ah! God, I cannot get this right now. Freaking, come on. Yeah, so, trick to this whole section is it doesn't hit you while you're in the pause menu. There we go. Much better. So, yeah, they kind of just left in a big oversight. So, just by opening the pause menu every 2.1 seconds while traversing that field, you actually can just skip that entire dungeon. Like, literally the entire dungeon. Because they left you a window to get through. And thankfully it's not very far that you have to go otherwise that would be a much, much harder trick. Probably change the route a little bit. Yeah, so there's the dodging lightning strikes portion of this run. So this music that plays here, I don't like its instrumentation, but it is a remix of the East 4 theme for the SNES, because this is sort of essentially a reimagining of a SNES game. So here's the cutscene where we see Adol lose all of his memories, because he nearly dies after being attacked by sort of the possessed god of this region. And that is basically one of only 3 cutscenes that character ever appears in, because everything with him gets completely skipped in this run. So, it's actually pretty interesting. The skip that I did where I just completely skipped the tower, I used to have to do about half of the tower, but about a week and it's 2 weeks now actually. One of the newer runners of this game found out that basically you don't ever have to do any of that. Most of the tricks in this run were not found by me, they were found by either the old Japanese community from the Vita era, which includes runners like Tadata, Hakuto, and Ravi, who I have very much a lot to thank for, and then a lot of the PC strats have been found by newer runners such as Primarix, Zelnu Eon, and Izuyoi83, and another guy by the name of Notcode. So this game kind of really came together quite a lot in the last year or so. It used to be almost a 3-hour run, and now it's less than an hour, with thanks to a lot of version exclusive stuff. Anyway, here's this giant gargoyle. And we actually just got a new party member who I'm going to set as active party lead, and she's level 30, which is really nice. It's also probably my favorite character in this game because she has the best weapon in the game. That is not the correct skill set. That needs to be here. And I need to get this. That's what's happening. Okay, I'm gonna just do that. So, as you can see, her finisher does a crap ton of damage. And I died. I have never died to this fight. I actually don't know what will happen if I die, which is why I have this. I actually cannot afford to die here. It's really bad. Why am I taking damage from that? That doesn't make any sense. Sorry, I realize if I die to this fight, I'll have to take this slow. If I die to this fight, I'll have to first kill the entire run. And I'll explain why in a bit. Thankfully, we won't have to do any of that. Alright, so this girl is a complete and utter idiot. And lets basically the dark, powerful object go into the hands of the villain, who we've never seen before because, cutscene skips. Okay. Now, I need more potions because I messed up. So, I'm gonna take a detour that I very rarely take. Some of those items are not ones that I would normally have in the run, but we're looking to finish, not do anything spectacular time-wise. So for perspective, my PB in this category is a 57.28. set at the most recent RPG limit break. That run showcased mostly what the best I can do with this category is. There was a few mistakes, obviously. It kind of happens in marathon runs. This is kind of a showcase of more like what the worst that can happen with this run is. So, apologies on that. And you know, sometimes you get a run where you get really lucky. Sometimes you get a run where you get really unlucky. So, there's a little seam at the end there where I can actually plug this little fissure in the ground that's sort of Frida's unique overworld action. There's a little seam that you can kind of get to do that even with enemies pretty much kind of aggroed onto you, but I have like only a couple seconds in which I can try, and if I fail it, then I just have to kill the enemy. Neat little property on this swamp water is if I mash as fast as I can actually kind of bunny hop my way across it really fast. So, there's a reason I do the run on hard. I appreciate it, Mullet. Yeah, it's a very fun game. I love this game. I love running this game, too, as long as it's not giving me the business like this has been. I need to hit that warp there. And coming up soon is one of the most important fights in the run. It's also the reason why, if I were to have died on that previous boss, I think I would have just had to mercy kill the run, because I would have basically put myself in a very precarious position. So off in the distance here, we see the ancient capital of this region. That's going to be where the location of the quote-unquote final dungeon is. I say quote-unquote because, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's pretty cool. So I need to set this warp there, and right here is the village of the frog people. Now I need to activate a little puzzle here. I had a chance, but it didn't let me do it. So right here is the only puzzle in the game that uses the mouse, or at least the only puzzle that I would use the mouse for in the run. It's just a simple weight puzzle. I already knew the solution. On the Vita, it ends up using the touchscreen quite a lot. So here, I'm coming up against a giant frog. And I'm going to try fighting him while tiny. And this isn't going to be a very good idea, because, yeah, he just straight up kills me in one hit. So, yeah, so every screen after the, oops, I need a different party. Basically, every screen after this one is treated as if, as long as it's not in the tower, every overworld screen, everything that happens later is treated as if I get struck by lightning when I die, rather than just going straight to the game over screen. So, another side effect this has is when I die, I will warp straight back to the deck. This is really useful because if I'm in a boss fight and this happens, it treats it as if I'm still permanently in a boss fight. And if I'm in a boss fight and I leave the arena, as we saw when I did the B, the first screen that has any sort of forced encounter, that forced encounter will automatically initiate regardless of what my story progress is. I wasn't able to load that fight, but its main perk is that it gives me this item called the Golden Wing, which lets me teleport anywhere that I want to. And I absolutely want this item because being able to warp between any monument in the world from anywhere is incredible godsend. Alright. If anyone in chat has any frog emotes, I'd appreciate you posting them now, because I need frogs for good luck. The interesting thing about this fight is that this guy can be kept in a permanent stun lock as long as you're using a skill. And it just so happens that Hurricane Spin is one of the skills that does this. Meaning that if I keep hitting him with it, he'll just be in a perpetual state of just not being able to do anything. Now, the obvious caveat to this is that I need SP in order to use skills in this game. That's the little blue sun rays on the bottom right part of the HUD. Oh god. I need to take a death. This hasn't happened in a while. I only did 1 damage. Okay. Thankfully, now I can get away with it. So one of the really neat things about this whole fight, essentially, is every time an ally learns a skill, my SP meter on the bottom right replenishes completely to full, meaning that I can just perpetually use skills in order to keep this guy at bay for as long as possible. Oh gosh. I cannot get a good fight for me to save my life these days. Spit her out. And dead. So now we get an item called the Beast King's Claws, and these used to be virtually useless in the run, save for the one little part of the run that you absolutely need them for, as in story progress wise. But they also happen to be faster than normal dodge rolls, and since we don't have the fastest form of movement available, we settle for the next best thing, which is Deadly Elbows. So this is about 12% faster than normal movement speed with just dodge rolls, so it ends up adding up quite a bit over time. Obvious consequence of this being that I have to listen to my character's grunt over and over again, which is fun. Alright. So here's a giant space tick from nowhere. It's just kind of a random boss just sitting in the middle of nowhere. Ends up actually being one of the most fun boss fights to do well in the entire run. this attack has a very extended hurt box, and one thing that makes it end up being really fun to do is that I can basically hit this guy multiple times every attacking cycle. I can sort of extend the duration in which I can do this by using Simul Flashes a lot, so again, it's a fun fight to actually do well. It's a fight that can go very poorly, but I'm gonna heal here. Now he's gonna enter his second phase. Okay, so she just killed an enemy on the side and basically gives me a full SP refill, which is really nice. So now he's gonna stampede around, and I want to try and get a perfect guard here. And then in this phase, I want to hopefully kill him with this. There we go. That was a decent fight. I wasn't able to chain together as many attacks as I wanted to, but I didn't die, which is the first big step. Alright. So ordinarily what the game wants me to do is it wants me to head over to the ancient capital city. And then once I go there, I get attacked, lose everything, and by that I mean basically nothing. And the bad guys get into the final dungeon, which is really bad because the final dungeon has access to the ancient records of this region, and if you have access to those, you basically can rewrite history. Quick little footnote. You might notice that the item getting sound effect in this game sounds like that of Super Metroid's. That is intentional. The reason for this is in the very first Ys game, which was composed by Yuzo Koshiro, and only Ys 1 and 2 were by him, if you know him from like Streets of Rage or Metroid Odyssey. He basically said he really liked the sound effect from Metroid, the original one for the NES. Every time you get an item, it does a very good job of saying, you just got something useful. So yeah, he just straight up ripped it off. Come on, laser beam. Alright. So similar to the bees attacks, anything that gives me upward vertical momentum, I can chain together guards, which means I can bypass that door. So ordinarily, to try and get into the final dungeon, I would get locked out, and then I'd have to find basically the second key, which is the opposite of the Mask of the Sun, which is the Mask of the Moon. And then I'd need to come to this dungeon to repair it, and this would end up being the second to last dungeon in the story. However, you can't actually access this dungeon until you make enough story progress to get the item that lets you kill the guy guarding the door. That guy happens to have an attack that knocks me upward, which means that I can just shoot straight past him and then enter this dungeon illegitimately, I guess. But I don't care because the dungeon is way fun, and it's way more fun in the speedrun than it is in casual play, because in the casual run of this game, there is an escort mission in this dungeon, and I know pretty much most people who play video games at all kind of just cringe at the idea of an escort mission. What makes it awful in this game is, while she's not in any danger ever, she does have the nasty property of being really, really freaking slow. Now, since we skipped 2 dungeons to get here, we're about 15 levels lower than we kind of wanted to be. to make up for that, we grabbed that sword back there, which is the third strongest sword in the game. If that weapon was any other weapon, we probably would be using a different character right now. But it is a sword for our main character, which is pretty nice because he's actually really fun to use, even if I only use one skill on it for the entire run. That's not supposed to happen. Okay.
Leave everything to me.
Now, we're coming up on the second to last boss of the run. Unfortunately, we don't have a way to start the fight normally, so we have to go visit an old friend in order to basically force the encounter. Because as I mentioned, boss fights will trigger if I ever leave from a boss fight without finishing it. And this just happens to be considered a boss fight for the purposes of this glitch. I don't consider him a boss, I consider him a form of ancient Japanese torture. Huh? Bad. I couldn't get that because this damn little bee was in the way. Alright, we're going overestimate. Apologies to Midwest Speedfest staff on that one. Between the technical difficulties and just absolutely horrendous luck. And not great execution. This just ended up being about the opposite of how I wanted this run to go. Like, for reference, my PB is 15 minutes faster than where I am right now. Okay, so we're gonna shoot up here. And now we can make our escape. This guy, if that happens first or second try, that ends up being like
Leave everything to me.
30 seconds. So I'm gonna click that, take this off of her, give it to him, and then give him basically this extra defense here. Now I can't actually hit this boss just yet. I really need to be careful of that fireball attack, because it is enough to one-hit kill me. But yeah, so for all intents and purposes, you can consider this the final boss. Because the actual, like, serious final boss of this run is a bit of a joke. Why did you have to learn that skill at that time? It's gonna waste another, like, minute. So the way this guy works this time is I need to kill his feet before I can kill his head. What? That's never happened before. Oh my god. Alright, I guess I have to use this file then, because it's faster than...
Leave everything to me. Now's our chance.
It's faster to just load a save file than it is to, just wait for that cycle to finish. What? Okay. I have to take another dab. Oh my god. I'm playing like dirt right now, so.
Leave everything to me. Try
Stop spinning. Way less frustrating. Ah, are you freaking kidding me? So I learned a skill that, like, wastes animation. This guy has a very short period, which I can actually damage his head. So I'm wasting cycles by doing this. Literally one hit away. Now we can finally damage the head. I was not supposed to use this first. That was a mistake. That was a big mistake on my part. Alright, we'll see how this goes. So now we're gonna go hit the head with more. And now that he's under half health, he's gonna do a few different extra attacks, which are actually in my favor because they're less miserable to deal with than his regular ones. So he's gonna get on all fours, and he's gonna charge up a laser, but if I kill one of his feet, it's gonna cancel that animation. Why is it not hitting the hand? Hit the hand. And my useless ally is kind of off doing nothing. So we're going to have to do an extra forward cycle here. Perfect fight on this guy takes 3. So... So, again, apologies for going over estimate here. Shouldn't have more than like 3-ish minutes after this fight before the run is done. And there we go. Leave everything to me. So sealed within the gargoyle was the ghost of the ancient king of this region. And he fixes up the pieces of the Mask of the Moon, which we never got because we never did those dungeons. So we're gonna go and enter the final dungeon, but first we need to visit this guy one last time, and this should be fast. Assuming I don't get shafted as bad as I did before. Come on, that's stupid. can't believe this, dude. I've had bad bees before. I've had good bees, and I've had bad bees, but this is, strictly speaking, the absolute bottom of the barrel worst I have ever seen. I can't do this trick if any of my characters are all hit with heavy or paralyzed. And unfortunately, I just need to wait for it to run out on at least one of them. And that would work. This. There we go. Actually, doesn't matter what side I do it on, thankfully.
All right.
So we're gonna enter the final dungeon, and strange things are gonna happen. So there happens to be a forced fight here. It's considered a forced fight. Except the quirk of this fight is it's not supposed to happen until after I beat the final dungeon, and I'm kind of in the escape sequence. Which means I just skip the final dungeon. Straight up. Now, that's not the end of the run, because there's one last boss fight. The bad guy uses the Mask of the Sun to gain incredible power, and when he does that, he basically creates a phantom of himself, which is basically unkillable until I find some way to destroy the mask. So the obvious solution to this is to just chuck the mask in a volcano. Just completely rip off Lord of the Rings. So this is the final fight of the run here.
Try this! No escape!
And that.
Try this! No escape!
Come on, buddy. So the escort that I talked about on the previous dungeon, the game puts her on this fight if we do this trick, so she's kind of just there, but she can thankfully heal me, which is really nice. Means that chances of dying in this fight are really, really low.
Try this! No escape! I won't just take your memories. I'll take your future as well!
Come on. Okay. Now I should be able to just finish it here.
Time to finish this! You waste your time. Try this! No escape! Try this! No escape!
Alright, so time is going to be very soon. Let's throw this run into the volcano while we're at it, because man, this is bad. And time. Alrighty. I apologize. That was a genuine dumpster fire of a run that should never happen that badly. For reference, my best time in this is a 57-minute time. My average is like a 103 or 104. So yeah, again, really, some of that is the technical difficulties. Some of that is adding extra safe strats and some of that's just bad execution. But thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming out.
Got some money for the incentives, so that was good.
Yeah, and you said it might have been a dumpster fire, but that is what I'm used to. That's what I live in, so I was very comfortable. We're supposed to be moving into Elder Scrolls. Might be a little bit of a long transition here. I know that'll put us a little bit behind schedule, but hopefully we'll get things moving along here. So everyone, stay tuned. Thanks again. Woo! Too many snacks. Thanks again for coming out and doing this late night run for us.
Absolutely, it was fun for the most part. Some not